colouring in that I was doing in preparation for my next product class. So struggling a bit with the next product class. There's so many beautiful things, it's hard to know what to actually choose to actually tempt you all with my next class. Anyway, I'm just going to make sure that my iPad and everything is up to date and my volume is okay. Although sometimes I think probably watching the videos without my voice would probably be a preferred option, at least it would be for me. Let's just make sure that's all up. Yep. Okay, cool, that's fine. Okay, today I'm going to feature another new product from our current new annual catalogue. So a product that is new to this catalogue is our Delicate Die Edges. No, sorry, Delicate Edges dies, which is this here on my left. I'm going to make this card very soon, but I'll just show you the dies because I'm only actually using one of them today. I'm sure the others will pop up very soon. So we've got 4 dies in this one. We've got this little one here, which is like a lace edge. I'm actually using this one in my next fun fold class, so it produces a lacy edge. This one's like a little delicate vine. I have got one of those cut. I was playing with it the other day. But anyway, yeah, you can imagine that that's a little sort of delicate sort of vine leaf with some tendrils and some flowers and things. This one's going to be very handy. I'm going to try and put this into one of our seashells cards very soon. I'd really like to use that because it looks like sort of like a kelp forest almost, doesn't it? So it's nice and sort of reedy and, yeah, so sort of grass, seaweed, that sort of thing. So, yeah, watch for this one's going to pop up with some friends alike seashells. And this one, which is the one that I actually bought the die set for, with a length of leaves, sort of just leaves going up the edge there. So I've seen a lot of cards with these edging dies where they have it on the sort of left-hand side and then all the decorations onto the right. So I'll try and pop a few cards in to the next few classes which have some of these edging dies on them. Yeah, so there's 4, as I say, four quite distinctive edges in that little lot there. So in this one, I've actually used those leaves, as I've just showed you that last one that I showed you. And if you can see, hopefully you can see, it's not much point if you can't, I've got 2 of them, and they sort of go up the side of the card there to just give it that sort of delicate, sort of lacy edge. Anyway, so this is the card we're going to make. I actually was trying to move away from these colours and try and make one for you that was different colours. But once I saw this one, I couldn't think of any other colour combos that I would like as much. So we're going to pretty much make this exact card here. Okay, so let's get started. Right, so I am actually using, as you can tell, I'm using the Hues of Happiness Designer Series paper, and I have fussy cut, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 of the flowers from that pink part of that paper. Of course, you could, what's that? You could always die, if you've got the stamp set and the dies, you could sort of stamp and cut out those images from the stamp set. And as we know, paper is only around for 12 months, and stamp sets last so much longer than that, so probably good to get used to the idea of using our stamps and dies rather than relying on the paper for our images, which is something I'm trying to get away from at the moment. Okay, so let's get started with this little cute card. I've got this is the card base, well, it's sort of half the card base. This is actually a piece of cardstock, and I've gone a little bit wider because I wanted to get those 2 sort of columns of leaves either side of our decoration, and they're a bit over an inch wide each. So I've gone 4 1/4 inches wide and 7 inches tall. Yeah, 4 1/4 wide and 7 long, and I've scored it. That's 1 1/4 inches from the end. So there, so 1 1/4 inches, and that forms that top part of the card where everything sort of hangs from. So it's going to be like that. Okay, so, but don't worry, I'll pop, once I get around to it, I will pop all the measurements into my onto my website. Then I've got a piece of cardstock. This is Blushing Bride, by the way, if you can't recognise it, or the colour's a bit funny in the room, Blushing Bride. So this one is 1 1/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches, And if you can imagine it, it's the bit that's going to hang around down here. And then I've got another piece which is 2 inches wide. And look, it doesn't really matter how long this one is, as long as you've got enough to stick at the top and at the bottom to sort of form that. It sort of forms an eye, if you can see that, a capital I with a cross across the top and a cross across the bottom and the column in the middle. So the column in the middle is where we're going to be putting all our decorations and stuff. So as I say, it doesn't really matter how long that is, as long as you've got enough to glue it top and bottom to the cross pieces. I'll just tell you what this piece is. This looks like it's 4 1/4. So what I tried to do was basically use a half piece of cardstock so I wouldn't be wasting it, and I actually cut it this way, so cut it across that way, and then we can use the bits around to stop to save wasting. Okay, so we've got that sort of basic structure. Now the designer series paper I'm using, even though I'm using the Hues of Happiness for the flowers themselves, this Mossy Meadow paper has actually come from the A Wash in Beauty designer series paper. I've only got half a pack of it at the moment because I've used the rest. So A Wash in Beauty. It's got some lovely, the Mossy Meadow side is obviously the reverse side of something, but it's got some lovely bright flowers there. If you find that you haven't got enough flowers in your life, definitely another one to go for. I like this one here that looks like it's got some berries and things. I might try and use that at some stage. And so anyway, this green is actually the other side of that one there, which is nice. Okay, so I'm using that green to sort of contrast my Blushing Bride. So, excuse me. So I've cut some pieces of this designer series paper that basically match exactly that eye that we were talking about before, that capital I. So they're all 4 1/4 wide. This one is 1 1/4 inch. This one is the same, 1 1/4 inch, and it's actually going to cover over all the Blushing Bride that's facing forward, if that makes sense. So I don't want any borders at all. All these pieces of cardstock will cover the Blushing Bride completely once they're on the front there. If you can see, it's like that. Okay, so we might as well start putting that eye together, because it really is, I suppose, the sort of trickiest part of this card, although it's not particularly tricky. Okay, so we'll pop this one on the top. Now be careful here if you've got a designer series paper that has a orientation that all sort of points the same direction. So we've got that one. As I say, it's going to cover, or at least it should if my measurements are right, cover the Blushing Bride completely, which it does pretty much. Might give that a bit of a burnish. Okay, then this one covers it so well I can't see it behind there. Goes on this little bottom piece. Now, if you're worried about having sort of the blank spaces either side of this, you could back it with what is it, window sheet, or clear acetate, to give yourself something to stick things to. But I haven't bothered with that at this stage. I'm not even looking at the chat. Terribly sorry, everybody. Seeing some names pop up. Good morning, all. Who have we got? Glenda, you were on early this morning, Glenda. And Evelyn, good morning, Evelyn. And Donna, good morning, Donna. And Deb, and Sal, and Barb, and Vicky. And Robin, good morning. Hey, everyone. Hey, Jan. Hope you had a good swim this morning, or hydropool. And my dear Gwenda. Hi, everyone. That's as far down as I've got. I'll have a look at everyone else in a minute. Again, I nearly popped that on upside down. So the leaves of this one run up and down. So I'm just being a little bit careful. So finally, I've got a 2 inch wide piece. And again, not too concerned about how long it is, as long as it fits behind the top and bottom of our eye. In fact, I haven't even cut it the same size as the Blushing Bride, lengthwise. Widthwise, yes, it has to cover it over. Okay, so then what we're going to do, if you can imagine, I'm going to pop a wee bit of glue at the top, a wee bit of glue at the bottom, and stick those two together like that. That makes sense. It's going to make our eye, and then we've got our two leaf columns either side of that. Okay, so we might as well do that now. So I'm going to make that nice and centre and straight, hopefully straight, and hopefully centre. Yep, that looks about right. Pop some glue at the top. Just firm that down. That's the easy bit. Pop some glue at the bottom. Just make that there pretty central and straight. And then, so we've got our eye there, the front of our card. So there we are. So that's the look we're going for there. Now, if you were very clever, I'm sure you could get a single piece of designer series paper, which is actually what I tried to do this morning. Get a single piece of designer series paper and work out where to cut those those little rectangles out of. It wouldn't be too hard. Obviously, it's 1 1/4 inch down and probably 1 1/8 inch or something in. But I found that probably life was a bit too short to bother with that sort of mental arithmetic. So I just went with the easy method. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so that's there. Oh, it's Rose. Hey, Rose. Rose Fuchs knows a lady that I used to work with, and we had a conversation about that this morning. So it just goes to show what a small place Hobart and Tasmania actually is. You run in people you know all the time. Okay, so that's the basis of our card base. So what we need now is our 2 columns of leaves, and I haven't cut those yet because I thought I'd show you coming out of the die cut machine. So I'll just grab my baby. Good morning, baby. And I'll grab the die. So I'm going to cut 2 of these. So I'm going to need 2. So these aren't strong enough to actually be structural, well, in my view. So you couldn't actually use them as, I'm missing something. My baby's missing something. Where's the rest of it? I think. There's definitely something missing there. I might have to get the big guy out. Missing my cutting plate. It must have moved out somewhere. Can't see it anywhere. That's cool. I'll bring the big guy over. Oh, that seems okay. I'm imagining things. Definitely got. Definitely sort of hallucinating this morning. We've got a couple of family members with the dreaded lurgy at the moment. It's in isolation, so we're all being very careful, and I'm sort of staying away from my older parents just until a week has passed. But it has been a big week. Thankfully, the family members who have it don't live with us, but I have been running around and getting groceries and stuff for them, so it's been a big week for that. So they came down quite suddenly and sort of almost unexpectedly, so they hadn't organised anything for a period of isolation. But I suppose these days we should all expect it at some stage. But thankfully they seem to be on the mend. They're both young and healthy with functioning immune systems, so they're not too bad. This time round anyway. I'll just do another one of these and then I'll weed them. Thankfully this die cuts really precisely, so it doesn't leave too many weeds or too many little chitty bits chipped with a CH. Just in case that came out wrong. Okay, so that's that one. I'll leave that die there. Get rid of my baby. Pressure on, apologies for that. Okay, made everything move around a wee bit. Okay, so let's just get some of those worked there. So that, as you can see, that die cut really, really well, really, really precisely, thankfully. And I'll just get the weeds out with the brush. Should be getting my, I don't know where my black spongy mat is. I had it here some stage. Would have made this easier. I do love the intricate dies, but I'm not a big fan of weeding. As the guys who do my classes know, usually they have to do a fair bit of weeding before they can even start making their cards. I suppose you could see it as therapeutic. So let me just keep watching my comments. Thank you, Alice. Yeah, I'm sure they'll be fine. It's a bit hard having to keep away from my mum and dad a little bit just to be safe. We've got no symptoms here in South Street, but yeah, so just wanted to be sure, because I did see Ben and Izzy, that's my son and daughter-in-law, just before they showed symptoms, so we were just being really, really careful with Dad and his cancer. We don't want to make anything any harder for him. Okay, that's enough of that. Cool, so we've got our 2 columns of leaves here. I did play with the idea of popping them on the outside of the card so that you could see the leaves top and bottom that way. But then I thought, no, it was making the card a wee bit busy. Not that it's not busy anyway. So I'm going to pop them behind, and it makes it a little bit easier because I can just be a bit, slapdash with the glue. So I'm just going to pop some glue on the top set of leaves and the bottom set of leaves, and I'm going to flip them over and attach them. So the leaves are a wee bit taller than the card itself, so I will have to trim some off the bottom. That's another reason that it's best to go behind, I think, in this case. You won't have a funny trimmed top showing. Okay, same thing with the other one. Just some glue, top, blue, bottom. And pop it in as well. Now, if that worried you, that sort of fact that you can see those leaves on the back there, you could, and I only just thought of that then, you could actually glue them between the cardstock and the designer series paper. So before you put the designer series paper on, you could actually slip that die in between, and then you wouldn't see it at the back there. It'd be hidden. I don't think it's too much of a problem. But if it did worry you, that would be a solution. Now, as I said, I'm going to have to trim a wee bit off those 2 pointy edges there that are slightly hanging over. There we go. There. So that is quite sticky. So wait for a while before you actually pop this one in an envelope, because it will stick closed, which would probably be another good thing, to actually stick it in between sandwich it in between the cardstock and the designer series paper. You wouldn't have that sticky effect. We could pop another piece of another piece of cardstock behind if that worried you as well. Okay, so there we've got that. That's quite nice, isn't it? I love that laciness. Oh, I've popped them both upside down. Can you see that? Doesn't matter too much, I don't think. These ones I've got running up the card, and these ones are running down the card. That's all right. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter too much. Anyway, but there we are. So that's our columns there from out the side of our card. There's a little bit of weeding there. That's annoying me. So now we can do the decorating with the flowers. No more flowers, I hear you say. But anyway, let's see. So I have cheated a wee bit and cut these, as I mentioned, cut these from the Hues of Happiness Designer Series paper. I've actually die cut these ones, so there was a fair few I wanted. There's a hair there. Hair gets everywhere. And I do have a little stitched rectangle for my sentiment as well, but we'll bring that in a second. So this one I used the lighter leaves, the lighter flowers. I think these would be sort of flirty flamingo. And this one I've got sort of a mix. I've got one of the flirty flamingo ones and the rest I've got from the, I think they would be more like a melon mango, something, melon mambo, something like that. Anyway, so let's pop those around and see how we go. So I'm going to pop them so that they sort of overlap that central column over onto our column of leaves a wee bit, so that's not, so it sort of overlaps a bit and looks a bit cute. And I've got some edge bits, like with this paper, it's really good. You just don't waste anything. You can get the ones that are right on the edge and then just slip them behind and you'd never know that they were only partial flowers, so it's really good that way. I've got a little partial rose here. Where will I put him? Trouble is he's facing upwards. He needs to really face upwards. He's not a good example. He needs to be over here somewhere. I might leave him off. We'll just go with the 3 big ones this time. Just like that. Then I've got some leaves, so we'll pop these on first. I haven't used any dimensionals on here, just sort of left them flat on the card itself. And as I say, be a bit careful when you're popping them on, just so you can keep the glue as much as you can to this central eye cardstock area, and otherwise you're going to sort of start sticking to the back, which probably isn't a good thing. So you sort of have to visualize where the card actually is and try and stick to that. As I say, if that worries you too much, you could pop a sheet of acetate behind and then it wouldn't, the glue would stay exactly where you want it. Cool, I've been pretty good so far, no overlap. Okay, so there's 3 of our flowers. Now I'm going to bring in some leaves. So here I've just die cut the leaves from the paper. With the original one, there weren't enough of the leaves that I wanted, so I can bring that a little bit closer. There weren't enough, so I actually stamped and coloured in these ones. So these ones have actually been stamped and coloured in Mossy Meadow. As you can see, they're slightly different because they have that nice uniform die, the distance between the die and the edge of the image. But these ones have all been just taken straight from the Designer Series paper. Just going to pop them around, being a bit careful where the glue is. Okay, just one more. There we are. So they're quite nice. They are lovely. I said to someone this morning, it's hard to drag yourself away from these Designer Series paper images and back to the actual stamp set sometimes, but I'm going to have to try and make sure I do that. Okay, so I've got two little extra blooms here, and I'm actually going to pop those up here, sort of at the top of the card. So I'm going to have the sentiment coming over this way. So I wanted to sort of just have something around that. just like that. And I've got another leaf as well, which I'll pop in and behind there, something like that. Here we are. So that's going to be what it's basically going to look like, hopefully, once I finish. Okay, so let's pop those in. If I can remember where I put them. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I'm going to use, I've got it here somewhere, just Best Wishes. That seems to fit this lovely little stitched box really well. I'm going to stamp it in Mossy Meadow because that's fundamentally the colour for the front of the card anyway. It's got that lovely pink blushing bride behind, which is, I think, really highlights it and brings out the pink from the front. So I'm just going to do Best Wishes. There we are. Okay, so I'll bring that's going to pop sort of there, sort of. I might actually put that on dimensionals. I hadn't actually put it on dimensionals in the first card, but I think I'm inspired for some 3D, so let's do it. Something just pinged in my ear. There we go. So obviously the dimensionals are only going to go on the left-hand half because otherwise they're going to be suspended in mid-air, which is probably not a good thing, especially because we don't want the front of the card to stick to the back of the card too much. There we are. Bring in our last rose. So I'm going to pop this one so it slightly overlaps the sentiment a wee bit. Pop that on dimensionals as well in the right places. There's one there. Just feeling so that my dimensional doesn't get too far onto it stays where it's supposed to. So I want one there. There we are. I'll just put a tiny bit of glue on there just so it glues to that. And my leaf. Just working out where's the best place for that. No, be up the top there. Come on. There we are. Okay, how's that? That's sweet, isn't it? It's yeah, I like it, and I like that, as I say, that delicateness of those columns either side with that new edging die is pretty cool too. Okay, last thing, and then you can all go and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for everyone who stayed around. Is some bling. I'm just going to use my all-time favourite iridescent gems. Just pop them around, highlight the sentiment with some gems. And the third one up here, maybe over here, I think. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so there's a lot going on with this card, as you can see, quite a lot happening, but I think that's really nice. I love the fact that you can see the pink through those leaves that it's running up and down. They're more like vines. They're running from the top to the bottom with our beautiful Hues of Happiness flowers there as well. So yeah, I really like this one. And there you could, if you wanted to, pop a small white panel in the center to write on, obviously because the pink is not white, obviously, but I think writing on the pink would be okay. And as long as I would try, if I was writing on it, I would try to keep it in line with that column so that the writing didn't sort of you couldn't see it through the front of the card, or pop a white panel on the front, on the back, and do your writing on the back too, which would be quite valid. Okay, so that's my card for today. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I'm just about to release my new Funfold class for what's next month, June. So watch out for that. I usually pop them up on my Facebook page from the 1st of the month, so the 1st of June. There'll be a new Funfold card. We're also we're also looking to very soon have having our next celebration. So I think that's in July, but there's plenty of time to talk about that before it happens. But anyway, we do also have the awesome joining offer at the moment as well. So if you haven't heard about that, for the month of May, it's one of the best joining offers I've seen for a long, long time. So if you've been thinking about joining Stamping Up and you'd like to join my team, please just reach out, and I have all the details for you right here. Thanks again, guys. Enjoy your weekend or your Friday night, Saturday, wherever you happen to be. I'm just going to wait for my husband to come home, and then we're going to vote. It's a national election day here in Australia, so we'll go down and vote at our local school and grab a sausage, and that will be the highlight of our day, I suppose. Okay, so thanks very much, guys. Talk to you all again real soon. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you later. Bye.